Welcome to Spark in the Spiral, a podcast where ADHD meets creativity and we have empowering conversations that celebrate neurodivergence. Whether you're chasing your dreams, building a career, or just trying to survive the dopamine drought, this is your space to laugh, learn, and find the spark in your own spiral.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Spark in the Spiral podcast. Today's episode is going to be the Inside the Journey series. Essentially, it's where we sit with artists, with creatives, storytellers, and entrepreneurs who share their process from beginning to end. Not the perfect, not the pretty necessarily, but the messy, the real, the human experiences, which truly defines their essence, what they put into the work and to the actual end result. The real purpose of who they are and the becoming and the story behind it, the evolving, in other words. Today, we have someone that I actually met a few months ago in our master's program at SCAD. And as we started encountering each other, and as I started observing him, learning from him, not just inside work, but out of work, I thought he would be one of the best guest speakers that I would had a privilege to invite for my podcast. His work doesn't just live in canvas. I truly feel like he actually breathes it. And that's the difference between creating something and putting intention and being grounded when you create something, which is exactly what we're going to be talking about today, along with his journey. I also feel like he is someone who turns like emotional heritage, experience, and culture into actual color. And the person is going to be Lami Abayomi. So I said the last name right.
Yes, you did.
So Lami is a painter, a storyteller, and a creator behind his brand called Lami and Love. With his work, is basically a visual world that's built with identity, heritage, influence, and a lot of honest expression. I feel like his journey isn't loud, but it's very powerful. And that's the difference because it speaks for itself. And before I forget and before we dive into it, I wanted to actually congrats Lami for his engagement. He got engaged a few weeks ago. And just wanted to give you the space to have you be like the highlight before we start to celebrate and congratulate you for that because it's an important chapter of your life. And having that said, we can now move on to the initial of
Thank you
the
so much.
podcast. No problem. So talking about the beginning, before your brand, before art, where and what place were you? That could be mentally, spiritually, physically, whatever that means to you. And when did you first realize that that was kind of like the version that you wanted to become?
Firstly, thank you for being here. Thank you for having me.
Thank
This
you.
is so special. Before I got here, before I had the privilege of meeting you, I was a lawyer. I'm still a lawyer, to be fair. It was a lot of legal education, rooms where I didn't necessarily want to be in, right? A lot of that. I got a big break. I decided to apply for art school after a lot of my previous educations. Instead of investing in that career, decided to try this one. And if I do say so myself, it's the best decision I ever made.
Okay. Why would you say it was like the best decision that you made? I know you went through like the transitions,
Yeah.
and that actually reminds me of something that I don't think you knew, but I'm gonna definitely add it about
Yeah.
the law stuff. But what kind of like made you realize that like you knew that it was not law?
I love the law. I love government history, literature, anything associated with the law and the legal system and stuff. I love arguing. I'm sure you.
Oh, I'm sure I definitely know.
Sure. So I'm sure you know that it has nothing to do with being like against that life or that profession, right? But I was kind of born into that family, and it was more of me taking agency over myself and over my life, and me saying this is what I want to do as opposed to this, right? I still believe if I had settled in that profession, I would have been a damn good lawyer. But I would rather be happy and alive than be a damn good lawyer. Yeah.
That does make sense. Satisfaction of what brings you satisfaction per
Yes.
se.
Yes.
It's interesting that you mentioned that. I'm sure you did say it, but now it makes sense. I remember one time in one of our classes, our leadership class, I think the professor said something after you finished your presentation, something like, I know you come from like your law background. I know you like to debate. I thought she was actually being sarcastic because of like the debate aspect, but I didn't really realize that you actually came from that background until we followed each other and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it's pretty funny. It has nothing to do with the topic, but I always knew that I wanted to be into a creative entrepreneur because I like the creativity and the entrepreneurship, which is why I call it entrepreneur. But and you could even ask like Tyler, and there's been so many times that it's like my alter ego. I always say like, I would love to be a lawyer. I would love to be a lawyer. There's a part of me that would wanted to, obviously, realistically not, but it's kind of like the opposite, which is interesting. And so many people were like, you could be a lawyer. And then I was like, no.
You know, I was going to say my father will love you as a child because a lot of his children do not want to be lawyers, and here you are, absolutely in love with the law. Yeah, it was really nice to grow up under that kind of limelight, educational background, kind of privilege, I guess. And everything I am right now is based on the law, the way I talk, the way I address others, right? Is based on that education. So if you want to do it, everything you learn could be advantageous towards your life. If you want to do it, try it, right? You don't have to be a lawyer, but you could learn a lot just studying the law, studying anything really, right?
I feel like that's what it's more like. I don't want to spend like my whole career to be able to do that, but I want to be able to like expand the horizons. And I feel like that happened because I've been in the US for 13 years and I've traveled. I feel like that love or kind of like passions or that love started, or I realized, and I didn't even know, when I had to go through like my citizenship process. I'm not going to get into details, and I was able to do it all alone and to a point that I afterwards, and a lot of people don't believe that because I don't really say it, I applied for citizenship without a lawyer. And I learned so much through that process.
Yes, I mean,
and I loved every aspect of it, but that's a different topic.
On that note, you already have more legal knowledge just in practice than a lot of people, right? The fact that you read something, you applied that knowledge, and it worked in your favor, right? So you are probably more a lawyer than I am.
Probably not. That reminds me too. You said something about the skill sets. That reminds me, transferable skills. Now you're in a different industry. Do you still feel that even though law was not your thing, do you still feel like there's a lot of things that you learned from law that you could until today's day you utilize those transferable skills into what you do?
Definitely. I do not know what your educational process has been, but you just sitting here and during this interview is very clear that you have transferable skills that you've pulled from a lot of different places to assist you right now. I think if you want to take this further, you'll be a brilliant journalist or an anchor of a television station or something. It will be brilliant. It fits you right now.
Thank you.
Yes, in terms of transferable skills, a lot of my skills, the skills that I got from that previous career, has obviously assisted me in this career the same way your skills are assisting you right now.
That's very interesting. And I wanted to make a pause. If you guys don't see me doing podcasts anymore, I probably became a lawyer. That's not happening. But that's what I was thinking too. Because I feel like when it comes to like creative and entrepreneurship, a lot of times when we understand what to take and what not, it's like a relationship or experiences. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but you know what to take, whether it's something to not do again or something to do again. So that's interesting that you did mention that.
You take what you need.
And what you want.
Yeah, what you want.
Now, mentioning the background, I wanted to talk more about your background. I know you're Nigerian. How has your Nigerian upbringing or heritage or background shaped the way you create today or express yourself to the world?
That's a brilliant question. My Nigerianness, in the grand scheme, my blackness, I am in the United States of America, so my blackness is more relevant than my Nigerianness, I guess. But my identity as a black man, as a Nigerian, as a male, right, is the foundation, is the basis of my arts making process, right? I literally am here to express myself in this kind of body I find myself in, right? And this body has identifications. So yes, I have employed a lot of my identity or thoughts about my identity, who am I, in my art making process, in understanding value, because value for me or my art for me goes beyond just making stuff. It goes into like thinking of creative entrepreneurship, like you called it, thinking of providing jobs or providing this opportunity, right, that I'm in right now for the average Nigerian or another Nigerian or another black person, because I am in quite an incredible opportunity right now doing the masters in fine arts, right?
Yeah.
So my blackness, Nigerianness is really the foundation for anything I do, really.
That's awesome. It's kind of like what you learn at home. You're always it's kind of like
Exactly.
subconsciously, whether you
Exactly.
accept it or not, it's gonna live with you
Exactly.
no matter
Exactly.
what,
And it's gonna come out. It's gonna
and it
show itself.
defines you in a lot of ways until whatever extent you want it to define you, or
Yes.
it builds your essence in a lot of aspects.
Yes, it does.
Now, talking about creating and expressing yourself,
Mhm.
when you create or paint, what are you actually trying to capture? I know that's like a very relative question because I'm pretty sure like a lot of the elements have different purposes at the same time, but I mean more like overall. Like, do you focus more on capturing the moment, the expression, the emotion, the what's in your head, the person behind it, or is it something else? I mean, anything.
That's a great question. When I paint, I'm more telling a story, really. You described me as a storyteller, right? I think that's I have a huge foot in that title, right? I will take space there. All I do is get interested in an idea and try and relate that idea to the next person. So that idea obviously will be in connection to my identity, right? So I take a topic, something that has to do with me or my family or the people around me, right? And I try and express that idea to another random person. So if you could walk into a room and understand the story I'm trying to say, right? Whether it be on canvas or on porcelain or wherever it is, right? As long as you can relate to that story in a way you could never have been to Nigeria, you could not know who I am, but you could see yourself in a particular story. And I think that's just powerful.
That's awesome. I there's like a word for that, but I can't think of it. I think I said it at the beginning. I was right. Like it speaks for itself.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain because sometimes it's not necessarily something tangible,
Yeah.
but it's more so like I'm gonna say like the slang way when you know
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
What has been having that said? What has been like if you want to share like an example of a recent project where and what was it like as far as like that you mentioned?
Yeah. I brought some stuff that I've been working on.
Ooh, this would be the perfect moment to
Yeah.
bring it.
Yeah.
Can we?
Okay, let me go get it. So this, for example, are like these pots. Not for you to see them. Who's that?
The devil. It's an
Recognize that
inside
person.
joke. But you guys will know after the end of this podcast when you see his work because I can't tell you who the devil is.
Do you recognize? But you recognize the person, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yes, that is my fiance, and that is me. We kind of shared the same name. So the question about this is called titled Lami and the Devil, and we both share the name Lami in a way.
I want to take this home.
It's absolutely stunning, isn't it?
I would probably not be the devil in this case, but it's okay.
Yeah. And obviously, I think this might be better.
Oh, wow. Is this the latest one that you were telling me about?
Yeah, I was trying to get this finished.
How long did it take you?
The set of 3 probably took a month and a half. In between sourcing to finished like firing stage is absolutely brilliant.
I love it.
So
What did
something
you
like
use
this.
here? Is it acrylic?
No, it's
Or
called
like,
underglaze.
got it.
Underglaze, yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Do you have to put it in like in the oven or something
Yeah,
like
it's in the
that?
kiln, yeah. So
Let's
something
see
like
that
this
one.
is pretty simple to understand. Lami and the Devil, we both share that name. Who is Lami? Who is the devil? It's not a crazy concept, but the concept plus the execution plus the material exploration, these are things that make stuff valuable, right? So you don't have to be saving the world with your idea. Your idea could be exploring something as simple and technically like broad, like color, for example. You could say you want to explore color and take that. You add context to that, you add material to that, and suddenly you have some of the most important artworks ever, right? And the context will come from your identity. Yeah. So we're back to being or what a creative entrepreneur is. And I think that half of my art making process, apart from just making stuff literally with my hand, is exploring that concept of value and creative entrepreneurship, quasi business, quasi creative, just finding a middle line in between being a businessman and being an artist.
And I really like that because I feel like when it comes to like the creative entrepreneurship overall, it's not necessarily like the traditional industries or other aspects where it's always about finding who's right or what's right and what's wrong. I feel like when it comes to art, it's not necessarily always about what's right or wrong, but what is right and true to you,
Yes.
because it's more so trend setting in a lot of aspects, and you
Yes.
create what you want it to be in a way. And indirectly, once you make that impact, there's a reason why people would follow it. That's just
Yeah.
an example.
That's brilliant.
But thank you for that. I really loved it. I was super excited to see that one, and I was not sure if you were gonna bring it today, but I love it. Are these just like samples, or are you having it online, or?
These are more experiments really towards a kind of grander idea, right? So I am working towards an idea in my mind, and all of these are just technical explorations to get to that idea, right?
Got it. Okay, so like a work in progress,
A
kind of like
work
a
in
sample.
progress,
They would say
yeah.
that in jewelry.
Yeah.
And what was the moment that you realized your art and your creation was more than just a personal expression, more that you could build a brand with it?
That's a great question. A bunch of great questions today. I think that was probably in university days.
You're still in the university.
That's a great shout. When I was in university, when I was a university student, that was a long time ago, honestly. I was studying law, right? And I am this budding artist, or at least a budding artist in my head. I have no clue what it is to be an artist. I'm just a guy in a room that loves to paint, right?
Yeah.
I then realized that the only way to expand of this being this solitary figure in a room that's just doing something no one knows about is to create a company around it, a company that involves other people, right? A company that can host things, drag attention towards myself, right? Thing about being an artist these days is that you have to be everything. You have to be a marketer, you have to be the artist yourself, you have to be a lot of things to make your business, to run a business, right? I am kind of exploring all those facets as individual facets of their own in order to kind of take up that leadership role, but like leading by example. I want to be able to do what I instruct people to do.
And that's like making an impact.
Yes.
But it's more than just saying, but they have to see it with like you having all of that together. And it's not easy compared to like many other aspects.
Yes.
So I could definitely understand that. Yeah. So when you sit down to create or to paint, what does the real process look like? I always love to ask this question. Like the messy, the not so perfect, like not the polished one, like what a day would look like.
Oh my God. I do not know a clean artist. I do not mean clean in your private life. I do not know an artist who has a beautiful, clean studio, right? My studio is messy as hell. I haven't really explored painting on canvas in a while, so I haven't been around the muck in a while. This has a cleaner kind of aesthetic or a cleaner feel to it, even while I'm making the products, right? Painting is quite messy. Charcoal, oh my God, is even messier, right? But I've worked with a lot of things. I've worked with wood, glass, explored a lot of material, right? So I think here is probably messier than any kind of physical environment of mine can be, but my physical environments are, especially during creation mode, they are not the nicest to look at, right?
Is it more like a brainstorming process, like while you're thinking all these different things at the same time? What would that look like?
I look messy. I don't comb my hair for weeks, and I mean, like towards the end of our quarter, you probably saw that, right?
I did remember a bit.
Yeah, so I get into these zones where going through schoolwork, adult work, like real life, this and that, right? I'm trying to make money. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. So there's just a lot of conflicting ideas and experiments in my mind, right? So I go through these phases, but usually what comes from that phase is usually like brilliant work or like a breakthrough of some kind, right? And I think I just had one recently, a breakthrough that kind of provides direction, right? And I think I have a rough clue of what I want to do next. Yes.
I love that. And you know what that reminds me, to not be too long about it. I remember a few months ago, I went to like a road trip or a college trip to like an advertising agency. And at least back in the days, when I say back in the days, I mean like when I was doing my undergrad, like 10 years ago, whenever we would apply to jobs or whenever we would show a portfolio or something to someone, we thought that it was mainly focused on like the pretty part, the end result, like step by step, the decorations, the this, the that. And I never understood like why was I not getting hired, or I didn't even understand at that point because that was not my focus. But throughout the journey, when I went to that place, and that was not the only agency that they told me, people were asking like what makes a person to get hired and going from good to great. And they were like, we don't really care about the end result. Don't tell me all these things that you've achieved and stuff. Bring your process book, the ugly, like the inspirations, all the other stuff. And they showed me examples of it, someone that came from fashion. And then when the person saw like the resume of the individual and like the end result, they were hired because they were able to see the storytelling without the person having to explain much, because you could see it in the process.
Yes, yes.
So I really like that it's getting to be more normal now, or relative, and a lot of industries cannot do that, but creatives could definitely do that.
Yes, yes.
So Lami, what has the hardest part of being an artist while building a brand, doing a master's, and being away from home, like juggling all these things at the same time? Like, what are like some of the internal and or external challenges?
Well, not a lot of people around you, right? Not a lot of people that kind of understand the vision, right? Becomes more difficult to explain and defend kind of your job or right your where you are in life. There's a lot of thinking, right? Because you have to. It's kind of like in when we learned about like the innovator leader, right? You have to think of the next innovation. You
Yeah.
have to there has to always be a next thing, right? You have to change the game, right? And changing the game is harder done than said, I guess.
I agree. And game changers again, another inside joke. We had a class that was called Game Changers, but that's not why I'm saying it. It really is more difficult to do it than to say it, because it's not something that happens overnight.
Yeah.
It's with actions.
Yes,
it's
yes,
like
yes.
every single day, and also when things get tough.
Yeah.
Or when challenges are faced, as far as like you know that you really want to, but sometimes it's so strong that you're like, how do I fake it till I make it? And I don't believe that it's always possible.
Yeah, perfect description there. Faking it till you make it. Honestly, half the time I'm just trying to get past the situation, right? I'm just trying to be strong enough to get past the situation. So there's a lot of things to consider always. There's always a lot of things to think about, but I'm really just trying to be as honest as possible in every situation and just get past that with some level of dignity, gravitas, right? That has been my kind of strategy for the last few years. I'm in business, in life. I'm very responsible to the people around me, and that's kind of how I pride myself. So, yes, I don't know if I'm faking it. I don't know if I already made it. I'm doing what I think is best.
That actually leads to my next question. Like, let's say looking ahead, what do you see for yourself as a person, as an artist, or a storyteller, just overall?
I'm very excited with this idea of creative entrepreneurship. I'm very, very exciting. I love how you kind of packaged it in that one simple phrase, right? I am starting a company that is focused on elevating kind of the taste buds of the African estate. I'm gonna say a bunch of random words just not to give anything away, but my company is gonna be focused on this idea of the African Renaissance. There is you. I'm sure you know a bunch of Nigerian musicians or African
Yes.
musicians, right? There's this blow up of our cultural identity on the global like scale, right? And I'm trying to contribute to that. Me and my company try to contribute towards that in the language of food. It's not a restaurant, don't worry, but it's in the language of food and presentation and fine
Yeah.
arts. Yeah, yes.
So, Lami, this is one of my favorite questions, which I don't think I've ever asked anyone. But when I was coming up with the ideas of the questions, and I thought about you, in a word or in a sentence, what do you hope for people to understand from your world and the correlationship with your work?
I just want everyone that is in contact with my work to feel educated on the context, right? I would be satisfied if everyone that came in contact with my work was I want to say understands, but understanding is in the hands of the audience. I would be grateful if my audience was interested enough to seek the education from what I'm trying to tell them. So if you see a photo and you want to learn more, I would be satisfied if my audience are the type of people to leave the presence of my work and go research more on their own, or
Got it.
take photos and go do more research, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. I just want my audience to be interested enough, to be involved enough, right, to be with me. Yeah.
As you were actually talking, I was just thinking of maybe a word impacted by.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of times it's so hard to put things into words, and sometimes people might not understand the whole grasp of it, but it makes a difference in some way or another to their lives.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's always the beginning of it, which is great.
Yes. When I come in communication with my audience, I don't fall short, right? Everything is
Yeah.
defensible.
And that's literally goes back into what I said at the beginning, honest expression.
Yeah.
And that's everything. And the next question is a little more fun or more like free for what you want to talk about. What's been giving you life lately? Like maybe a ritual, a song, a loved one, a pet, a food, anything as simple that has just been making your days better. And I love this question.
My wife, the absolute love of my life, is the source of my happiness lately. Yes, that's the only thing that gives me life. Honestly, that's my main priority. That is what matters to me. I love this career and I love this chase, this I don't want to call it a rat race, but I love this race, right, to be something of myself. But all of that pales in comparison to how I think of my family or my family units or the people I have to care about. So just waking up in the morning and drinking tea and having routines that calm me down are supposed to round me up, sponsored by the love of my life, is
Aw.
what has given me a lot of life lately.
I love that. And I was, as you were talking, I was kind of happy because I don't know, I was like living it because you guys just got engaged and you called her wife, and that's awesome. As long as it makes you happy.
Yeah. My soon to be wife. My soon to be, if she would have me.
So, Lami, for those that are discovering you for the first time, how can they find you or where can they find you? And what do you want them to know about you and your work?
On Instagram as Omolamiwa. What to expect from me? I am infatuated by an idea right now. You, my audience, would definitely see a result of that idea. Watch out for me. If you are African, I think you should be even more excited by this idea. So watch out for Lami, watch out for Lami and Love, watch out for Abayomi Thomas. And yeah,
Do you have the actual website of Lami and Love? Is it ongoing, or is it still something that you're working on?
I'm deprioritizing Lami and Love to focus on something else, right? To focus on. So I don't want to say too much right now. Maybe in our next interview, I would be able to say a lot more. But Lami and Love is being controlled by the team as opposed to me personally right now, right? I am developing something else that will assist this grand walls that we are building, right? That includes me, you, and the rest of our audience. Not leaving it at all, really, right? Just reprioritizing, re-strategizing. I think every business needs to do that every few years, right? It's been quite a few years of strategizing under the banner of Lami and Love. We've had a direction for quite a while, but in those few years, we've gotten a lot more opportunities. And in order to accommodate those opportunities, I need to be bigger, better, stronger, basically.
I love that.
Yeah.
And very side note, I don't know if you remember that, but I remember the first day of class, I saw you with that same hat of Lami and Love.
Yeah.
And I was about to ask, like, why does he, what does that mean? And I didn't even know that was a brand.
I brought you one.
Huh?
I brought you one.
Really?
Yeah.
And then at first I thought like, oh, he must have a girlfriend that makes it obvious that it's that she has a love or something.
Yeah,
'Cause I'm like that too. And then it was like a brand. And I was like,
Yeah,
that's cool.
that's the thing everyone
You're
thinks.
wearing
I don't know. Can we not find love by like in ourselves as men, right? Yeah, everyone thinks
Oh, I
everyone
don't know.
thinks
I'll
when
put
you
that
say
down.
love as a man, it has to be referential to a woman or to someone else, right? This is when Lami and Love started, when we started the name, when we started the context of this company. It was me. I mean, I'm coming from a law career. I think I'm an artist. I don't know. I could make some stuff. I could paint. I could draw. And I do not know if this qualifies me to be an artist, right? So Lami and Love is really falling in love with, first of all, myself. Secondly, the artistry, like the ability to make things, to sell things, the creative entrepreneurship, right? Whatever it is that banner is what Lami and Love is, right? So that includes me, includes you if you support me, and includes anybody watching, right? If they like Lami.
Of course I will. And I want my hat. Lami, thank you so much for sharing your story and your journey today. I learned a lot, and I'm pretty sure that the viewers also did. And I really appreciate you taking the time to do this and just hearing your journey more in a bigger scope than what I actually knew. And I had a lot of takeaways as far as like the transition aspects of it's okay to prioritize different things, but at the same time, it's what feels true to yourself. That's real art.
Yeah.
And that was for me like the biggest takeaway as far as the term artist, because it's such a simple term, but it's also the most difficult to understand because it doesn't have like a specific stereotype or parameter or like a rule book.
Yeah, I mean, we know what fine artists are, right? But when it comes to how you live your life, right? I heard a quote that says, "The art is not the artist, but the artist is the art," right? So when people look at you, when people hear you speak, they see the way you carry yourself. That is you being an artist, right? And the canvas is your life, your presentation, all of that, right? I guess. So what is an artist? Someone that has the ability to express themselves creatively. Creatively will be lovely, right? But the expression, right, is the crux of what we are doing here, I guess.
I love that. You really hit it on spot, and I'm probably going to want to write that quote after. But yeah, thank you so much. And if this is something that resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, share, and I will share the information of Lami and check out his work in the descriptions. And I will see you in the next episode. I always do that. I love that you did it too. That's like my closing. I love that you did it.